Hello and welcome to another episode of the BLS podcast. I'm David Choi.
I'm Desmond Connolly.
I'm Joseph Terry.
And I'm Mark.
And today, as you may have heard, is a very special day for us because we are joined here with our new headmaster, Miss Rachel Skerritt.
Greetings, everybody.
So, how are you doing?
Fantastic. I'm so excited to be a guest on the podcast today.
We have a few questions submitted by students. Some are school-related and some are not.
Uh-oh, should I be worried?
No. So,
You never know.
okay.
So the first question we have is, what is your favorite memory from BLS, and what is your worst memory?
It's a great question. I think one of my favorite memories had to do with my participation in the show choir. That was one of my major activities at BLS. I was very involved in music night. I did a lot of groups like jazz band and gospel choir and some other things, string ensemble too. But show choir, there was a specific song. We actually did the Star Spangled Banner, and it had a solo. And we had this phenomenal soloist, Sarah Corey, class of 94. And there was this tremendous high note that she used to hit in the song that guaranteed every time she hit that high note, the audience would pretty much just faint, spontaneous applause, gasps, and then we would come in as the choir behind her on the high note and it would just swell. And, our teacher, Miss Fernandez, who was the advisor for the show choir, would do her conducting thing, and it would just be, every time we did that song, it was just so much joy. It's one of my most distinct memories at BLS. And Sarah Corey today, the soloist, is actually a professional actress. She's a full-time actress in musical theater and still, doing arts full-time. And so she definitely was very talented.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, and you said, yeah, actually, we were both living in Washington. She still lives in Washington, D.C., and she's doing some theater there, and I just moved from there. So I had lunch with her as recently as a few months ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, worst memory.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hard. I'm trying to think. I was very fortunate in that I was blessed in that I didn't have any significant crises during my time at BLS. I was healthy, my family was healthy. I was stressed, but it was a manageable level of stress for me where I didn't have any significant, kind of dips in my mood or other things like that. So I consider myself very, very lucky. And I know that a lot of our students haven't been so fortunate to have such a non-rocky road. And I really applaud so many of our students here who push through despite a lot of things going on at home or in their lives or, with their own mental health or physical health. But bad memories for me, there were definitely some classes I liked more than others. There was a particular class where I really felt as if I got a grade that wasn't deserved and wasn't communicated to me. And I got that grade at a time that was really consequential. I was competing for a Franklin Medal. The top 7 students in the class get a Franklin Medal. And due to this grade issue, I didn't get the medal. Now I realize that no one cares after high school whether or not you got a Franklin Medal. No one even knows what it is outside of Latin school. But at the time, it felt as if a lot of my hard work during my time at BLS just wasn't recognized, and I was really sad about it. And I think because it was senior year, it's freshest in my mind. I don't think that's the absolute worst memory, but it's something that sticks with me.
Well, what class was it?
It was actually an AP music theory class. And the teacher is no longer with us. But I do regret not having a more open conversation with him about it, because instead I decided that I would protest by refusing to participate in the class for the rest of the year. But I'm way too much of an extrovert, so I think it lasted for 2 days that I gave him the silent treatment, which I realized wasn't really hurting anyone except my own participation grade. So it wasn't my best plan of revenge, but that was how that went.
Right. So you said you took show choir and AP music. Have you ever thought about becoming someone musical wise or?
Oh man, if I were a good singer, I would be the most obnoxious person in the world, because I don't even think I would speak. I would just communicate everything in song. But I am a decent enough singer that I can stay on pitch and kind of keep my altos at the right level, but no one would ever give me a solo. So I definitely have no potential for a singing career, and I just wasn't dedicated enough to do the level of practice and discipline in order to get my piano where I would need to get. So I was a decent piano player, but definitely not at the level where I would do music full time. I was always more of an English person, really into reading and writing.
If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Oh, well, I do have a travel priority list. So I do love to travel. I try to go to at least one new country a year. I've been to over 30 countries. And right now, really high on my list are Australia and Japan. South Africa was the number one on my list, but I just crossed that off last year, and it was absolutely amazing. I did a safari. It was the best vacation I'd ever taken.
So, as well as being our headmaster, you're also the author of 2 novels. Will you be writing more books in the future?
Well, I will say that this place definitely gives you a lot of good material to potentially write some books. The problem is I don't know when I'll have time to write it, but I do imagine that sometime I'll be able to get out my laptop and devote myself to writing again. But I've actually written 3 novels, but I haven't gotten to write any books since becoming a principal, and I've basically been a school principal for the last 10 years or so. So I miss it, but I just don't know where to fit it in. Maybe I'll start with some short stories.
And if you could repeat any year of BLS, which one would you pick, and why?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think I have to go with senior year.
Yeah.
It was a good time. I was fortunate enough to have applied early to college, and so I only had to do 1 college application. I knew where I was going by December. I was really excited about it. We had an awesome senior class trip. We just to give you a sense of inflation over time, the cost of things. We had a few different senior class trips, all off book. Like the school wasn't sponsoring any of them, but we were just going away for April vacation on our own. And one group was going to Bahamas. One group was going to Cancun, but all of the low-budget folks were going to Virginia Beach, so that's where I was going because I didn't have any money. And so we got there by train. So we got on the Amtrak train to Virginia Beach. So I think it was like 13 hours or something like that. And we stayed in a hotel for a week and just like hung out and went to the beach and had a great time. And the entire trip was $250.
Wow.
And I remember we were like paying it in installments, like it was a lot at the time. But so the senior class trip was great. Prom was great, though there's kind of a embarrassing story about prom. Maybe I'll tell you another time. But there were a lot of fun things senior year, and I think we just started to feel like this is our last time all together. So really just treasuring the time with your friends before you go off in your separate directions. We had the senior class show. I don't know if we still do that, but we have just kind of a talent show in the auditorium, but kind of really silly and fun. So there were just a lot of great memories about senior year. We had also heard all through our Latin career that when you have studies during your senior year, you have senior lounge. And we never knew what it was. We're like, oh my gosh, we can't wait to have senior lounge. We don't have to go to study halls anymore. This is before we had this amazing library that you could sign in and use. So we're like, gosh, we'll find out where it is. Maybe there are couches. I wonder if there's a TV in there. It turned out senior lounge was the cafeteria. But it was still really nice during study halls to just have some social time with friends in the dining hall. So it was a nice time. I liked senior year the best, I think.
Me and Mark actually guessed which year you would pick.
Yeah.
Did someone think I was gonna say 6 a year?
I don't
It
know.
was a young,
No.
it was a young, innocent time. I liked 6 a year too, but yeah, I think I'd have to say senior.
We also do have a tag show. I don't know if it's specifically for seniors.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of seniors do it.
Got it.
It's not.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to attending
It's
that.
very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, senior year sounds like a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no
But it
seniors
is
here yet.
stressful.
No.
It's stressful.
So what is your favorite book and why?
Oh, I think I would actually have to say my favorite book is a book that I got introduced to by teaching it at Boston Latin School, and that's To Kill a Mockingbird. When I graduated from college, I came right back to Latin school to be a teacher, and I was only 21 years old. And so I think they gave me the 60s because it was the biggest age gap that you could possibly have between myself and Latin school students. And so I taught all 60s, and that was one of the novels that we had to do. And I love the book in and of itself. I love the characters. I love Atticus Finch, of course. But actually making the book come to life to a diverse set of kids and dealing with really challenging topics, and you think about them, they're just so continually relevant when you think about racism, when you think about sexual assault, when you think about the things that are happening in our society right now. It's just a book that remains so relevant. And we were teaching it to 12-year-olds, and they were managing it, and they were grappling with it. And we had some students who came in the day after reading the court scene chapters, like in tears for Tom Robinson, just so actually emotionally invested. So I think it'll remain my favorite book because of what it was able to instill in the students that I taught the book with.
So our final question is, are there any changes you would like to see in the school?
No, BLS is perfect exactly the way it is. I'm kidding. No. Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, you can talk about individual, technical changes. I know we were all just having a conversation about school start times, for instance, where people have different perceptions of it. But I think that there are some things universally that if we changed, it would benefit everyone. The way we treat each other, for example, a culture of academic honesty. Classes across the board where students both feel engaged, but also feel like they have direct lines of communication and voice in terms of the way that the class goes and the way that you engage with that class. There are just certain things that we can all work toward to make sure that our high school experience remains rigorous, remains challenging, still serves our mission, but also kind of feeds the soul in other ways. We all spend a lot of time here. All of us spend more time here than with our families, than with anybody else. So I think it's really important that even if we don't love every period of the day, that we're grateful for having been here, and that we don't have to wait until 10 years after we graduate to say, oh, I am grateful to BLS, or, you hear that from alums a lot. Oh, I hated it when I was there, but then I realized it was helpful, and now. I don't think that's necessary. I think you can still realize that Latin propels you to be successful in college and beyond, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to enjoy the steps that you take along the way while you're in the moment. So I think those are my big goals for students at BLS. How we get there shouldn't just be on me. I think it's going to require some collaboration between the administration and faculty, and also input from students and your families. So, I'm still new, so I'm still trying to learn all the names and figure it all out. But I'm excited to work with you guys to make Latin better.
All right, so that's all the questions for the interview. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us
I had a
today.
great time. Great
It's
questions.
a pleasure.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have a nice time here at BLS as a new headmaster.
Well, you guys play a role in that. So keep making good podcasts, and
Yeah.
that'll help me out.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.